1, 2, 3. Going live, you're live, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope all is good, and we're having another great day. Tonight, we're going to go over, as my dog keeps whining, he's doing his thing. We're going to go over the Explorer race again, part 2. It was so good and exciting last night that I decided to do a part 2 on it because there was so much to cover, and you just can't cover it all in one episode. So you need several. So anyway, no matter what time or when you're watching this, it's all good. My computer's working good. I got an excellent connection, and we're going to be talking about this book tonight, The Explorer Race. I want to give a big shout out to Big Al, who's got the cards, and Delaney Pearl Jones, who was on my show last week or so. We pulled a bunch of cards. Thank you for coming. But tonight, to this weekend, we got a really special guest, and you'll all love it. It's going to be a real interesting show. Very interesting show. You just got to stick around for the details. I'll give them to you later. And there's Delaney Pearl Jones in the house. Thank you for coming. We're going to have a great night tonight. We're going to talk about the Explorer race some more and pick up where we left off last night. And I hope you're all doing good, stocking up and getting ready for the big, who knows what's coming. And as always, okay, we're going to get right into this since I don't have a lot of other stuff going on. And there's S. Lee. Thank you for coming. Okay, I am going to get this set up. Oh, here we go. And there we go. We left off as negativity and an outgrowth of adventure. Well, who would think? Negativity. We were talking about, what did we learn last night? We learned about negativity and doubt, and having hope. Hope, doubt, and negativity is what makes us who we are in our individuality. Go figure. Who would have thought that? Negativity was something that had a sort of sprouted out or arisen. Yeah, and of course it does. Well, remember, we're going to be talking about Zoosh. Zoosh is a channeled spirit from he was a planet. He's close to creator, and this book is all channeled. Remember, it's channeled from back in the thing. Okay, and it's put aside. Negativity is put aside because they didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't find a constructive use for it. This goes back trillions of years. It's hard to imagine trillions of years. That's right. Negativity was accidental outgrowth of adventure. Adventure initially stated as a jealous experience, but because it sometimes has pitfalls, negativity sprouted from it unintentionally. Well, yeah, that's what negativity does. Oh boy, thank you, Pearl Jones. I'm going to get a skull buddy and a wand. Anyway, okay, so tonight, I don't know if this thing goes as far as I got it, but we're going to skip over a few things. Okay, we're going to skip over to this part about, are we the only civilization to ever experience negativity and individuality? Was there any other places just like us? And according to Zoosh, he says, yeah, absolutely, which would make sense. So here we go. 18 civilizations experienced negativity. How many very high civilizations on Earth destroyed themselves in this attempt to find use for negativity? How many overall got the level where we are? That's the question. About 18 civilizations got to this level, some of them significantly beyond your technology, and a few even spiritually. For example, one civilization on Earth got well beyond where you are spiritually, but obviously took place. They simply moved up in dimensions and were gone. They didn't hang out around and became an explorer race because they had the capacity to leave. So they did. It was at this point that the creator decided, wait a minute, I don't want to let this happen because it's self-defeating. That's when creator clamped down a little on the terms and up limits applied. Well, that sounds like the people from Atlantis. They just, you know, they were higher evolved, but they weren't aware. Question, but weren't they aware of the purpose of why they were here? Didn't they say, I don't want to go? No, they weren't aware. They thought they were here to achieve spirituality at the highest levels. So they moved on. Only after they moved on were they informed why they had been here. By then, they were sufficiently expanded so that it didn't upset them. Creator and they had a good laugh together, and it was like, oops. And one of those oops laughs, you know, it's kind of amusing in higher dimensions. So, question. So it was prohibited to us the opportunity to expand? Certainly, you are expanded. You have a contract to come here. You cannot possibly expand beyond what you are in your natural state, okay? In order to come here, you have to compress yourself significantly. You are not some low little being. That is a joke. You are compacted, as it were. Kind of like a zip file, I guess, right? You are compacted and you are compressed in order to explore and apply actual principles of creation in the creation lab. Here are you, if you would create something that doesn't work, it doesn't simply become a theoretical function. It doesn't work, such as initially promising an idea and atomic energy. You are immediately or soon after confronted with actual examples of why it doesn't work, why you then get to apply in some other way. I'm telling you that because you cannot expand and rise up off of this earth plane. Of course, I'm telling you that because it is your nature. You are already expanded. You have risen up well off of this earthly plane, and you have to struggle to squeeze yourself into what you are now in order to forget who you are, so that you can create something entirely new. What's the Russian point of rushing back to being what you were when you had to stand in line to qualify to come here to become more than you were? Do you understand your motivation to do it? Question. So the irony is that we're trying to remove the negativity on the planet when that's the one thing that we actually have that's of value. It's not, yeah, go figure. It's not one thing you have of value. You have about 46% negativity on Earth, and you do not need more than 2%. So feel free to reduce it. Question. I want to get back to those 18 civilizations. What was the first one that expanded out of here? The 9th civilization expanded and went up, on up. 11th one expanded and went on up, rethought it and moved elsewhere. It discovered what they had done and decided to try out creator's idea elsewhere, but it didn't work. Question. The civilization on the planet had been in a constant experimental process. Can you say that we are ultimate results of the learning that took place? It is a laboratory experiment where we keep refining and refining it. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. We are the ultimate result, or have there been finer examples of humans before? Of course, we're the best, right? Oh no, you are ultimate result. Hey, I knew it. You have shown that limits, when applied judiciously, can achieve the desired goal. The key for creator was learning just the right amount of limits, just the right amount of inspiration, so on. You know, it's a trial and error. Even you are creator. When creator creates something that doesn't work, he can't just throw it back into the pot. She has to live with it until it goes on and takes its next step. So creator just sort of sits by and watches it. See, I knew it. I knew it. Creator just watches. Creator chose to do this in basically linear fashion so that creator could assimilate the full personal lesson herself. Of course, creator's idea of linear might be a little different from your own. Creator might have a multiplicity of things going on at the same time and could consider what linear areas of your linear, one thing after another. Okay. Well, let's discuss this. Anyway, hey, Witchy Moon, thank you for coming. Michelle Can-Am Free, Andrew Phillips. Thank you all for coming tonight. Spend your valuable, precious time with me tonight, and as we discuss Zoosh and the creator. And he created us with negativity, and we went way overboard. Apparently, we only need 2% negativity, and we have 46%. How many of us has experienced negativity? Yeah, I'm one of them. I've experienced negativity. Oh, I think everybody I know has experienced negativity. Yeah, it's definitely 46%. Maybe more sometimes. But anyway, getting down to it, see other civilizations, they managed to control it and they advanced, moved on. I don't know if we have that power and ability, but we could sure try. I think it seems like everybody wants to move to that higher dimension. It's like it's instilled into us, like we need to get our brain together and advance in some way, into a higher plane. So we're like more wise or something. But all you have to do to be wise is be wise. Think, have some common sense. Don't fly off the hook. Alleviate some of that anxiety we talked about last night. Because I think most of you do have anxiety, who doesn't? Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. That's how it is. And if you can move on like that. Well, anyway, we're going to skip ahead to some of these other ones. I know there's some of them out there are things, and I wanted to get to some of this, and I just don't know if it's in here. They only gave me like a chapter or two for free. Let's skip down to the 18th civilization and see what happened to them, because that must have been the last. Okay, the 18th and last civilization. Does the 18th civilization begin with the seeding, with Jehovah bringing the souls here? That was the question. Well, I don't like to limit creator by referring to creator as only as Jehovah. I meant the ship that brought the souls here. Was that the beginning of the first civilization, or was that answer? No, that was at the beginning of what you know now as your civilization. Okay, question. Everything that has happened since the seeding, that's the 18th. That's us. That's you. It's important to understand that the explorer race's ultimate destiny is to express yourself as creator. You will go out and be the explorer race for an X amount of time, but then you will reform as creator in all beingness. Your universe, which creator has stimulated or created, will contract. I bet didn't know that, and you will become all that creator has created. You will then take over the application of what is left of your universe to guide it and stimulate it, and you will guide and stimulate other universes. What I meant when I said you will contract is that you will become more connected with all beings and all life. You will appreciate the focus of beings, and that being now considered animals in your world are not animals at all. They are not second-class citizens or even third-class citizens, but beings who have very specific skills and abilities, and could be said to simply be different from human beings. You will become very connected to all life in your universe, and you will take over for creator. Give creator a coffee break and allow creator to buzz up to what's next. Your creator really has no idea what's next, but knows that there is something next because creator has absolute proof of something beyond itself. Inspiration. When something comes to you from, say, the Council of Creators, and you are the creator level, where did they get the idea? At some point, you want to go up and see what that world's about. Your creator wants to do that. That's why you are here, so that you can not only replace your creator benevolently, but to give your creator the feeling of pride, because you are not only as much as she is, but more. And that, as any good parent knows, is the ultimate desire for one child's good night. And I think that's all they gave me. They only gave me the first chapter. So that's what we have to live with. Because you can only get so much for free. Okay. Well, we get done with that, but there's so much more in this book. So I wanted to go over some things. And one of the first things I came across was, oh boy, let's go on this. I put the markers in the book, and I wish I had some stuff for this, but it was the fairy races and the native peoples of the North. Go figure. I thought that was really interesting. I got to get my little light out so I can see. And I hope you all are enjoying this. It is really kind of interesting to me. And I just thought I'd share it with all you because this weekend, we are going to, on Saturday, we are going to have on, ta-da, we are going to have on, let me pull this up. Hang on. I got to enlarge this and push this back. And you guys are going to see the first premiere of the big surprise for the weekend. Okay. Let's see. I'm driving the bus, people. I'm driving the bus. I know. Okay. Share screen and share sound. Optimize for video clip. And I'm going to do this and that. And here we go, people. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Wow, it's going to be a great weekend. We're going to have Trina and Ryan Serio on, and they're going to be talking about other worlds and dreamlands. And we haven't had Ryan on for a while, and we haven't had Trina on for a long while. So come and join us this weekend on Saturday night. It's going to be a great night. We're really going to enjoy that. Okay. Hey, Lucky Smith. Yes, have a great weekend. Wow. Well, it's only Thursday, but we're going to have a great weekend because we're going to have Trina on this Saturday. So tonight we're going to be talking about the fairy races and native peoples of North America, or of the, well, it doesn't say North America, it just says of the North. And I don't have a PDF for this, so you're all going to have to bear with me. It says, want to talk about Native Americans tonight, but there's another group of beings I want to talk about first. Underneath the earth, there are many groups of beings, many higher civilizations at different dimensions, but amongst you now today, though not as numerous, is a group of beings that relates well to those light beings who are underground and who have a connection to you. I'm going to include them among the races because they have something in common with the Native Americans. Although they are aware that they come from the stars, they're related to a culture that has done a great deal to train many Native peoples for their stay here on Earth and for their experience in life. The first beings I want to talk about are those in the world of the fairies. Well, who doesn't love the fairies? These beings can be seen physically or remain unseen. When they are unseen, it is because they are in a different dimension. They can move between dimensions and travel through portholes into higher dimensional Earth, under the surface, as well as many dimensions in the planet there that was once here. They can travel to all planets, all galaxies, all dimensions, everywhere. They are the divine representation of love in a physical form and are readily available on the planet for those to experience. You might not be aware of the experience, but it is available. These beings are truly the link between the angelics and the creator. That's one for you, Delaney Pearl Jones. You have the fairies and the spirits in your basement there, and they're traveling to different dimensions, and we've seen them because you showed them to us, and only because you catch them on camera. So they are true. Yes, Lucky. It's going to be a good show. Regardless if they're gonna have a great show. Trust me. As you were here, because they were talking about what Brian say. He wrote me and said they're gonna discuss inner gateways, tunnels of the subconscious, and the tarot cards. Go figure. Yeah, that's what they're going to talk about. Holy cow, I thought it was Wednesday. No, it is Thursday night. Okay, let's talk more about fairies. The work of fairies and the work of nature spirits. Once upon a time, there was more pristine surface population, and Mother Earth was more like she was once about 4,000 years ago. She was in pretty good shape. I wonder who ruined her. At the time, there was a population of fairies exceeding 50,000, more than were necessary for plant and animal species, and so on. Although there were more plant and animal species, then you don't need one fairy for each. They were here primarily to act as a kind of connection, as a means of passing the energy of Creator right into the physical earth. They would pass it into the plants and animals, and occasionally into children, if the children were still innocent and not jaded by worldly ways. That's why I'm always thinking, yeah, that's why children always have a connection, because they're just innocents. They don't know any better. They were, just spirits, years before. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And see, when I do my thing and my dog comes up and then she wants attention, Hey, guys, a cab. I'm doing a show. Okay. Anyway, drive safely, Gaza. I seen your garden thing. He's planting corn. But when the civilization began to blossom, they became basically overpopulated, as you are now. Well, it's telling us we're overpopulated. There was less room for fairies on the surface, so they retreated to higher dimensions of this planet, inside the earth. Hollow Earth, we talked about Hollow Earth once. Many of the times they were interacted with underground civilizations to prolong the education and the pleasure of knowledge about the surface for those who were being trained here. So they are, according to what this says, there is a Hollow Earth with civilizations, Argatha and Shambhala, underneath the earth. Somewhere those civilizations must exist. Because of the interdimensional quality, I can say that fairies came from a certain place and they are going to another place. They're divine beings. And that with the thought in mind, there's only so much I can say about them. I'm mentioning them because there is another race with which they closely interact. I wonder which race that is. What I call the nature spirits, who dwell all over the universe. These beings exist primarily to teach repetitive, sacred orientated individuals, where we're bridging into certain Native American populations. So that's the thing. Native American populations have the power to connect with the fairies and the nature spirits. North Country Native tribes and nature spirit teachers. I have alerted you before to the idea that some Native American populations are rooted in the Polynesian race, but I want to discuss other more by region, those located in the northern United States, Montana, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and occasionally Wisconsin. Basically, people of the plains, as well as people connected to them, such as the people of Siberia, Iceland, and Alaska. These native people arrive on the planet from many different points. Some are from Sirius, such as the Algonquins. Although they are an Eastern tribe, I mention them because their philosophy has permeated the highest levels of the United States government and even other countries. And there are the Lakota. I won't say where they're from. They did not come to the surface, but to the inner earth or inner planes first, where they studied for a long time with the nature spirits. The fairies came in at that point because they are corded directly to the Creator, and just being In their presence, you feel divinity. Fairies would often be present when the nature spirits were teaching these relatively recently arrived ETs, soon to be native peoples. It was not much sacred education basics because they already had that, but what about what it would be like to be a physical person and how they needed to behave so that Earth would produce food and water in the right places to nourish and shelter them, and so on. Wow, that just sounds right up the alley. So, okay, primarily the native peoples were taught the abilities of manifestation within their sacred rites. Now, we've done a lot of shows on Native Americans, and all of them talk about exactly manifesting, having dreams, doing a lot of sacred dances and sacred smoke and all kinds of stuff. Some of these people have been here for millions of years, coming and going through different civilizations and occasionally retreating underground where the surface civilizations got too warlike. So they've had lots of training. I wonder if they'll do it again if we get too warlike. The main training for the nomadic tribe, for example, was the manifestation abilities wherein they were from a place to place and blessed the land. Yes, the Native Americans always seem to be tied to the land, and they do appreciate it. Today, nomadic tribes move about primarily because food and resources are used up in a given area or cold weather drives them to a warmer place. The original purpose of nomadics, the Bedouins included here, are because they are also from Sirius, the star system, star Sirius. Was to bless the land with their sacred rites. They were trained for the individual areas in how to go from place to place and be human on the land. You might ask, well, isn't this natural? But you have to understand that these people were primarily the prototype surface humans. Dreamkeeper, a great movie of me. Oh, yeah. I have not seen that, S. Lee. You might ask, well, is this supernatural? But you have to understand that these people were primarily a prototype surface human being that set the standard for the needs of the human being. There were people who came and went and were looked after by different extraterrestrial civilizations, but the nomadics came from extraterrestrial sources who were not really going to look after them. They would have to do this on their own, so their job was to cross over as much territory as they could in the beginning, basically touching the earth as they walked barefoot and being as humans as they could. On the surface of it sounds like a given, but remember that these people would have recently arrived from extraterrestrial points, and in order to be human, which was new to them, they had to practice to actually explore humanity. They had to discover the range of human feelings, emotions, thoughts, capabilities, and inspirations, and so on. When they felt like they were getting too meditative or dreamy, they would stop and do something physical. They would encourage in their sacred rites to dance, because dance is not only a means to celebrate humanity in spirit and form and creator, of course, but it would be inevitably involve them in physicality, in visions, and using the divine mental thought and imagery system that you can imagine. Yes, imagining. We talked about the sacred dances and the meditations that they would do too. So that is all correct. They also had to be emotional, feeling instinctual. They had to be fully human. Because they would become very involved in feeling and action. So sacred dances were initially encouraged. Go out and be human, because the humans who follow will need very similar to your own physical needs. They will need to have food grow, and Mother Earth is perfectly willing to manifest what you need. Some of this will be provided by other civilizations, but some will not. Sometimes you go to a place where there won't be any water, and you'll have to dance for it. Making rain, making a lake. If the rain long enough, if it rains long enough, there will be enough water. And if not for you, then for somebody who comes after you. They took their spirituality and their training in sacred rites very seriously. For those who were nomadic, such as the Bedouins, some plains people, and the Siberians. This was very important. Yeah, we know that, so have you ever gone out and tried, I remember when I was a kid, I would see that on TV and I'd go out and it hadn't rained for days. And then you'd go out and pretend to rain dance, and do some stuff and act stupidly. And then if it would rain, I don't know, but that, it's like kids putting on a cape and jumping off the roof. Of course, then you break your leg. Understand that the native peoples are literally on a mission. Most people with sacred training know this. Some of the tribes have been decimated due to wars, invasion, and so on, and they are no longer here to offer what they have in the past. Some of the tribes have returned from whence they came. This was always promised. The people who are now established as native peoples came for a while. They were assigned to do something, but it was never on a permanent basis. They were required, not encouraged for that matter, to integrate, to blend in with the rest of the people and become part of the homogeneous community. They were urged to remain amongst their own kind, keeping up the civilization and sacred practices so that the surrounding civilization would not accept them offhandedly. They were made to look somewhat different, and their sacred practices also made them stand out. During the past 900 years, some of the tribes have been gradually disappearing. We know from conflicts in history, as vague as they are, in written form in your time, that some tribes disappeared because they were wiped out by some plague or they were invaded by somebody and so on. But that has not been an issue in the case of all people. For example, some Pueblo Indian people went north and joined other tribes. This was well established in archaeology and various histories and tribal legacies. But certain Pueblo people simply just vanished. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Clift Houses. But anyway, yeah, see those people, the Indians, they had their ways, and what do they do? They had their sacred ways. And when the white man came to try to teach them farming and building houses, they already built houses. They did farm. If it wasn't for the Indians, we wouldn't have beans and squash. We wouldn't have corn. Did you know that in Europe, until the day that Columbus set foot on the North American soil, they didn't have corn in Europe all those hundreds of years, and they didn't have any corn. They just had wheat. And did you know they didn't have tomatoes or potatoes? They were really limited in the food. They had like cabbage. Can you imagine just what are you eating, cabbage or wheat? No potatoes. We take potatoes for granted. Potatoes were grown in South America, and corn was grown in the Americas. They didn't have corn in Europe. They had wheat. They didn't have beans or squash or pumpkins in Europe until they got them from the Indians. That's where they got the corn. And they got all these medicines from the Indians. Europe didn't have squat. That's why all the people were dying of the plague and they were starving to death over there, because all they had was wheat, barley, and a few other things. But they didn't have corn, and corn is a mainstay. It grows big and fast, and or potatoes. How many of you eat potatoes? Or every day that you have food, I bet you $1 that you're eating some kind of product made with corn, grown with corn, used corn, or used a potato product, starch, corn syrup. If you drank a soda, you drank some corn syrup. If all of these things are developed from corn. Food, tortillas, cornbread, potato or chips, feed for your animals. If you're eating meat, eating an animal, the hamburger was made from a cow who ate a lot of corn. I know, I used to raise cows, and in order to have a big fat cow, you got to feed them a lot of corn. So there you go. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Clift Houses for the future new race. Who would have thought you'd live in a cliff house? Okay, you might ask, where did they go? Well, some people, just not Pueblo Indian people, were called upon to perform a duty that leaves relics, runes, and so on to establish a civilization pattern needed more in the future than by themselves. A certain tribe of Pueblo peoples established many of these high cliff houses. Oftentimes, you couldn't see them from below, but you've been discovered by archaeologists and explorers, and some have been preserved. These people were establishing a basic form of architectural archaeology. You could say it was for the protection because it could go unnoticed for years. Certainly, it was very safe. It was also rather inconvenient. If your house was 200 feet above the source of water and you had to climb down and bring up the water bucket at a time, one water bucket at a time, yeah, that'd be a lot of work, though they didn't have buckets. Yeah, how do you get water if you don't have a bucket? It would take quite a while, and you had to be pretty careful bringing it up. If there were 200 or 300 people living in there, it would take a lot to climb and coming and going. And with that coming and going, scenery, the secrecy was lost, and because anyone could see all the activities. So the theory has a slight hole in it. There were the people who managed to catch rainwater, but it doesn't rain conveniently, especially in the desert where it comes. It comes when it wishes, usually when you want, it doesn't, when you're not expecting it. No, they would have to go someplace to get water. These high houses were established to suggest something to people of the 21st century in the third dimension. That's us in the third dimension. Briefly, I simply say that at the time of this dictation, you are now 3.47 traveling to the fourth dimension, 4.0. Wow, we're pretty close. We only got about half a percent to go. At some point, people will begin a civilization at the 3.0 dimension. It will not be human beings as you understand yourself to be. It will be humanoids, but not you, because you are on your way to the fourth dimension while you are alive on this planet. For further information about this race, look at the Explorer Race, Chapter 22. The civilization that's going to come in the 3.0 dimension will inherit a lot of the predictions that have been made by the Armageddon. Made about Armageddon and the disasters and so on. So if you're living in the third dimension, you're going to experience Armageddon. Yeah. Yes. S. Lee, you are the smartest man. My gosh, look at that. 40% of corn is only for consumption. The rest is biofuel, additives, adhesives, etc. And that's what I was saying. There isn't anything you don't touch that doesn't have some kind of corn involved. You know, you don't have to eat it to be experienced in it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here, the civilization that's going to come out of the 3.0 dimension will inherit a lot of the predictions that are made about Armageddon and the disasters and so on. In place largely with 3.0 dimensional Earth, the soil, the rocks, the air, the energy is the ideal of a great flood coming. The flood has been here, and there's scientific evidence to show it. To say nothing of stories of various civilizations, the story has been planted strongly in the third dimension. Yeah, we've all heard about the flood stories. We did shows about the flood stories. Go check it out. It does not actually affect you here where you are in the 3.47, but in your myths and stories and religions and scientific facts for that matter, you are perpetuating the idea of a great flood coming. California is going to fall into the sea and so on. You are 3.47 marching off into the fourth dimension while you are still alive. And here old Zoosh is saying that I am an American. Map, however, valid and relevant in its insurance to those who have received it, is primarily meant for 3.0 dimension and is happening at 3.0 dimension as we speak. So if you're in the 3.0 dimension, you're going to experience the great flood and apocalypse. That's what he's saying. Ooh, Delaney Pearl Jones says, Children of the Corn. Oh my gosh, I've watched that before. A big crack in the screen. I'm planting sweet corn. Wow, sweet corn. Yes, Yes, Gaza. Isn't that great? Planting the sweet corn. I love sweet corn. That's what we were talking about. Planting corn. Corn. Well, that's just the way it goes. Anyway, if any one of you want to get on while we're talking here and have some comments, just send me a message on the email that I provide down below in the description, and I'll send you a link, and you can pop on and make some comments if you want. Let's see. I am going to look this up. Cliff Houses. I've done this before, but we got to show the Cliff Houses built by the Indians. And Cliff Houses in Colorado. That's probably where they are. Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, we're going to share screen here. Okay, share screen. Yeah, we're going to go to this one. And there we go. We got the Cliff Houses here. And isn't that kind of cool? Who built these houses? Those Indians did. But was there a purpose for this? It just seems kind of weird and odd that they would build them under a giant cliff. And there you go. This is a huge cliff house. Look at that. I mean, can you imagine back in the day what it probably looked like? A big fortress, I suppose. Here's modern day cliff houses. Look at other countries. Manitou cliff dwellings, archives of natural history. Look at that. Ain't that kind of cool? That you didn't know those existed. Look at this cliff house. Cliff dwellings. Mesa Verde National Park. I've never been there. I think I want to go now. Here's another one. Look at that. Giant. It took a lot of people to build that. Those things just don't happen overnight. Get right up personal and close here. Look at that. Doesn't it seem kind of cool? Here's another view. Durango, Mesa Verde cliff dwellings in Durango, Colorado. Makes no sense. A lot of work there. A lot of work. Where'd they get the clay? And that would have been a pretty good idea right there. Look at that one. Oak tree house cliff dwellings in Mesa Verde National Park. Look at that. Okay. I suppose I'm running out of this. Okay, we're done now. I like to look at this. I could spend all day looking at the cliff houses. Those are lots of fun. Okay, so back to the cliff houses of the future. Okay, and of course they go on, and the water is rising for them. You've got about a 98% chance that it's not going to happen to your civilization. You were supposed to put an idea into the ground so that those who arrive in the 3.0 dimension would shortly after they got there, and they're getting there regularly now. Yeah, you have an anticipation building to anxiety that there might be a flood coming. But who doesn't think that California is going to fall into the ocean someday? I think that's right up everybody's alley. They predicted that. I think it's going to happen. So we have cliff dwellings. These people who are arriving at the 3.0 have not had much experience in extreme weather and conditions, but they are experiencing needs to be secured and fearing things, in being afraid of invasion. Another thing, we could be invaded. Oh boy. In the past, we had civilizations built high on top of mountains as if to say, look at this, you could live up here. If there's a flood, you'll be safe. Build a boat. If you have to walk out to your door and put the boat in the water, that's fine. If not, you can climb up and down and be safe. Bringing up plenty of food, your enemies will never get to you. That's basically the logic when you look at the cliff houses. I don't know. I don't think the cliff houses were built like that. I look at them and they just don't seem, anyway, that's your own opinion. That's mine. I think there's something weird about them. Now we're going to go on to the disappearance of the Pueblo people and the preparations for their departure and others. Where did the Pueblo people go? 10% went to other tribes, but most of them went back to their home planets. Native peoples all over the world have been expecting to do that for a long time. You could say that when they die off, their souls go back there. But I'm not talking about souls. I'm talking about them physically going back. Archaeologists have been puzzled about the sites that look as if the people had suddenly just left. What happened to these people? Where did they go? Some of these people did go back to their planets. Some of these off-planet people are back there now to prepare the way for return home of the native peoples. If you're going to be taught how to return to your own planet physically, you also need to be taught how to let go of your Earth duties and embrace your other planetary duties. So that is a good question. You know, we always hear about these alien abductions and things like that. Could the aliens have come down and known that the white man was coming and would destroy all of them and swoop down and pick them all up? Or at least a bunch of them, to preserve them, you know, to preserve their ways and take them back to a different planet. You know, a lot of people who returned to their home planets several hundred years ago, basically the Pueblo people, are back here now in spirit form, speaking, whispering to shamans of many tribes, and sometimes also leaving messages, sometimes cryptic, sometimes obvious, and signs that it will be soon time to go home. A few tribal people have never even spoken about this publicly, but the average non-native person doesn't know that the native peoples are getting ready, feeling that something is going to happen. Wow, this is really weird. Now, remember, this book was wrote in 1995. It's like they're predicting history, isn't it? A lot of the rest of you also have this feeling of anticipation. People are going to come from the stars. Yes, you have been expecting that, but these original peoples are going to go home. They'll go to different points, sometimes to different times. Some will return to the time of their home planet when the original people came several million years ago, so that their heirs of the people who left can carry on life there. They will be prepared for that. Boy, wouldn't you like to go back in time? Well, anyway, you watch and let me know what time you would like to go back to. I think I would like to go back to the Old West in the early 1830s. That would fascinate me. The 1830s, the time as the Indians were being friendly with the white man, and there was hardly any white men out west except for the trappers, and things were new and unexplored. Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, all those guys. It was quite the adventurous time. The early 1800s, from 1800 to like 1830 or 1840. Those were fascinating years. Man, I would love to go back there. So we're going to skip over here. Let's see. Okay, the Mayans and the membrane. Oh my gosh, we're really different genes and inspiration training. Over, we could go on and on about this stuff, but I wanted to hit this one here. The Australia, Gaza, this one's for you, and I hope Mandy Moo was listening too. The Australian Aborigines, advisors of the Sirius system. Did you know that? No discussion of the races would be complete without the mention of the Aborigines of Australia. Now the native peoples of Australia are profoundly mystical. I would love to interview an Australian shaman of the Aborigines. Man, boy, that would be my life's goal there. Unlike many native peoples who have been trained extensively under the earth before peopling the surface of the planet, these beings came here with the planet. They had a civilization underneath the earth. To the surface, or underneath the surface, well in advance of another underground civilization. And though their numbers be few on the surface in Australia, their deeds be many. Well, back in the time when the planet was in the galaxy system of Sirius, these beings occupied a position of some trust and responsibility, and their ancestors still occupy this position in that system. They are the advisors. Long ago, some might have said the soothsayers, the guiding lights, the entire Sirius galaxy, because their job has always been to oversee the development and maturity of the species of human beings. They must have representatives here on Earth, although their core colony remains in Sirius. That is why, having a vision of the future, they began and maintained an underground colony where Earth was still a planet in Sirius. The colony was begun about 45 million years ago. These beings are working directly with creators, representatives, the same goddess beings I referred to here before in the Explorer race. The body of man is appendix who came to visit the initiate, the warrior league on Orion, specifically God's daughter and her associates. These beings are very involved with the function and the purpose of human beings, which is to discover the benevolently apply worthy ideas by using limits as a challenge. Of course, one knows what is benevolent by long lasting. It is by its many disguises. So, Sirius, let's look at this. Daniel Boone, David Crockett. I watched the movies with this child. I love them. Yeah, I watched David Crockett and Daniel Boone all the time. Man, that was so good. I did a thing on. Did you know that Davy Crockett was almost going to run for president, but he gave it. He threw in the towel and ran down to the Alamo. Go figure. Yeah, he was gonna run for president. Imagine that. President Crockett. But anyway, I'm gonna look this up. This is gonna be we gotta check out the Sirius what you call it. We gotta check out Sirius star Sirius constellation. There it comes. There you go. Okay. Well, you know how that goes. Images. Yeah, I'm driving the bus, people. We're learning something tonight. So this is where the Aborigines apparently came from. Well, let's look at this. Canis Major, Sirius. There it is. Sirius, the dog star. Yeah, that's right. So if you look up in the stars and you see this pattern here, I wonder if I can. There we go. The Sirius image. Oh, I can't blow it up. Sorry. Canis Major. Oh, let's look at this one. Canis Major. You know, see, I do the work so you don't have to. You can just watch it. Okay, Sirius. So this is where the Aborigines came from, and over and between Sirius and Orion. Wonder what this will give me. Sun. Ugh, why can't they have anything good? I always want to advertise something. I don't know how to find the Sirius star. Well, there we go. It's a bright star. It's Sirius, brightest star in the Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. Okay. Well, how about that? Well, I hope you learned something from all that. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. Gaza, can you see the star Sirius from Australia? Can you see it in the sky from there? There we go. And let's see. We're only going to do a little bit more of this, and we're going to call it a night because my hour is up. We're gonna look at here. What does it say here? Seeders of myth and touchers of the earth. Certain things have been developed as a core application on Sirius, one of them being the legendary story that you know as myth. The function of myth is not only to perpetuate wisdom worth remembering, but also to create a future along guidelines. True mystical stories do exactly this. What happens, or this was perhaps one of the first finest contributions. One oftentimes does not understand the true legendary proportion of stories. You yourself know that to live without stories would be difficult indeed. Your most beloved books are basically stories, and even day-to-day tellings of this happened and that happened to you and others is very story-like in quality. That's right. Every day when somebody asks you how your day was, you tell them a story, don't you? So you got to love that. This goes into more about the Aboriginal people. The first Aboriginal people emerged from the place known as the Azer Rock, and they walked, if necessary, swam all over every single point on Earth. Now you might say, okay, Azer Rock. Oh man, what is Azer Rock? A-Y-Z. Oh, where is this? A-Y-E-R-S. I gotta look this up, people. Oh, that ain't it. Rid of this one. We're gonna go for the new one. Rid of that one. Azer Rock. A-Y-Z-R. A-Y-E-R. Oh, I gotta look this up, man. E-R. Azer Rock in Australia. Comes right up. Go figure. Okay, we're going to do this one little bit and then we're going to call it a night, people. Okay. Oh, this is that big rock. Look at that. I know this rock. This is supposed to be a big giant stone, one solid stone. Let's get a bird's eye view. It's huge. Any of you from Australia been there? Please let me know. This was it looks from the top. Ain't that cool? This is where they emerged from. Maybe they rode the rock down. Wow. This is from plains view. Cool. Neato bandito, boys and girls. Cool, 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 and very cool. So that's where they came from. There is really a bright star. I have never looked to see it. Have you ever seen the big rock at the Ayers Rock? Well, I guess that is. The first Aboriginal people emerged from the place known as Ayers Rock, and they walked and swam. Yes. Okay. Well, our hour is up, and I'm going to leave it off there, and we'll be back because this book is really interesting. We're learning all kinds of things about Aboriginal people, the Pueblo people, cliff dwellings, negativity, individuality. Oh my gosh. Hey, there's Steve, Slightly Slanted Sleuth for the Truth. Thanks for stopping in. I'm wrapping it up because I got to go to work tomorrow. But thank you all for coming. And as we know, we're going to go through this. I'm going to have a couple more shows on this, but only willing if oh, that's all right. Maybe next time, Steve, you can join me on here and we'll talk about some of this stuff. This is really cool. Anyway, yeah, all about individuality, negativity, and creation. So with that, thank you, Witchy Moon, Gaza Cav. If you've been to that rock, Gaza, just let me know. And I would love to hear your story about it. Delaney Pearl Jones, Genevieve, thank you for stopping in. S. Lee, Michelle Can-Am Free, thank you all. Thank you for stopping in and having a great night. Yep, thank you, S. Lee. Thanks for the teaching, much appreciated. Sounds good. Yeah, we got to get more stuff on the world around us and figure this out. So we really learned that we're all expanded, and you know what it is? It reminds me that we're like a zip file. All the knowledge we need, we're bigger than what we are, and we're going to put right into this little package of a human being to go out and create, manifest, come up with new ideas, because Creator is just watching. Okay, well, with that, remember, everybody, go out, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. I love y'all. Peace, everybody.